Hi, this is Tom Payne, otherwise known as Jesus from The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilger. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 102 of The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah! Sorry, I love that little thing that Cassidy McClincy does. I'm Brian.
And I'm Mark.
And we will be covering Season 10, Episode 3, titled Ghosts. But before we get started, we have some additional feedback for Season 10, Episode 2, which is titled We Are the End of the World. And let's listen to Rick and Simon.
We can talk about it. We're done talking. Time to listen.
So Renee from the internet says 8 out of 10. Well, she doesn't give any more, but 8 out of 10, I guess, for that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Her awesome sauce says the sister trying to kill Alpha. And her weak sauce is the whole backstory. It's like, seriously, Beta, you had issues before the apocalypse. If you allowed yourself to be manipulated that easy, Alpha made you the second in command after her. And you're like, okay, duh. And it's like, rolling eye emoji, rolling eye emoji, rolling eye emoji. I didn't really care for the episode only because none of my peeps were in it.
Yep. I would agree with that assessment. All right. So we'll move on. Season 10, Episode 3, which is titled Ghosts. Written by new co-executive producer to the show, Jim Barnes. And as I like to do when it's somebody's first writing assignment on this show, or director, I look him up, and he is he's got some decent writing credits on his resume, and as a writer and producer. Some of the things that he is known for: the show Timeless, which I heard is really good, but I've never seen it. That was on NBC. I think it's been canceled since. Gotham, a show that I have that I used to love and then ended up almost hating at the end, Falling Skies. Another show that I really loved, but it never quite lived up to its expectation, but also post-apocalyptic. So he's got a post-apocalypse kind of thing going on, because this is another show, Revolution. So he's worked now on The Walking Dead, Falling Skies, and Revolution, all post-apocalyptic. And then the other one is Nikita, and is directed by David Boyd. And I didn't look him up, but he's directed several episodes of the show going back quite a ways. I'd have to look to see how far, but he's been a director on the show, possibly even to season 1. I would say definitely the season 2. I guess he started out as a cinematographer. Yeah, he's directed 10 episodes of The Walking Dead. So going back to season 2, Secrets, Arrow on the Doorpost, which was a great episode, Internment, Strangers, Forget, Heads Up, Service, The Lost and the Plunderers, Omega, and Ghost. So there's some really good ones in there. Yeah, and he's directed a lot of different shows, 29 credits it looks like, and many different episodes of them. Queen of the South, he's directed 7 episodes of. Anyway, long long list of episodes, and I guess he started out as a director of photography or cinematographer because he's got a ton of credits for that too. But I think he's now directing, mostly because his cinematographer credits stop at 2014. So I think he's pretty much a full-time director now, TV director. The description is: the threat of the Whisperer's return leads to paranoia sweeping over Alexandria. In the meantime, Carol battles with a need for revenge. And I could play, but should I play? It's a trap. And maybe. I think all are appropriate. All right, Mark, what did you think of this episode? What's your rating?
Well, I give it 9 out of 10 hogweed blindness.
This, I thought, was a fantastic episode, except for one major issue that I had with it that took my score down a lot. I don't know if that was the only thing, but it was the major reason. 9, and this isn't why, 9 mace arms. Because, let's face it, Aaron's mace arm was pretty damn cool.
That was badass.
It was. That was cool. All right. Listener ratings, Mark?
Well, Steve from Oklahoma City gives it 9 out of 10 peanut butter meat jelly. There's a ship no one considered. Neron.
Yep. Dieta from Detroit. She says, I rate this episode 9 out of 10. Trippy sleep deprived. I see dead people carols. Carol, first off, I need you to get some sleep before you go up against Alpha. I don't want any slip-ups next time. End her. That was one of those things where it's like we could have put that in with the regular feedback, but I think it's more appropriate to go with the rating.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Well, Renee from the internet says 10 out of 10.
LT from NC says, I'm giving this one 9 out of 10. Awkward trips to the friend zone.
Glennis from Toronto gives it 8 out of 10, bigger than fleas on a farm dog.
All right, let's move on to Awesome Sauce.
Awesome sauce.
Steve from Oklahoma City says, Dante isn't such a jerk douche after all.
Dieta from Detroit, she had 2. Carol's hanging upside down, Walker kill, and then finishing them off once upright. Or was it all a dream? Then there's a thinking emoji, a sleeping emoji, a crazy kind of emoji, a squinting tongue emoji, and an upside down emoji. Then she says the 48-hour Walker killing spree are people endured. Yeah, I have more to say on that.
Well, Renee from the internet says, peanut butter meat jelly, squinting, crying, smiley face, squinting, smiling, crying face, squinty, smiling, crying face. Negan has redeemed himself, quote unquote, somewhat.
LT from NC is next. He says, Negan and Aaron ended up being the new buddy cop duo. Who'd have thunk it? Maybe the old Negan is just under the surface, but this was pretty good to see him being a goodish guy.
Glennis from Toronto says, that windmill sure was majestic and awesome being front and center in this episode. Sweeping around like a clock checking off the hours.
And she spelled center like a Canadian would.
Yep.
I haven't seen that much in recent memory because, I haven't lived in Canada for it's now 19 years. Holy cow. Anyway, okay, our awesome sauce. Mark, what do you have?
Well, I really love Dante in this episode. I think he was really awesome with giving a story to Sadiq about someone that he knew that suffered from PTSD from the war. And we find out after the story, it was him during a drink. It was a great scene. Very down-to-earth interaction with with two characters within the show, and I really enjoyed that because it brings it down to earth like the show has always been.
Well, except for the Adonis part.
Well, yeah, but it kind of makes Dante a little bit more flamboyant and kind of interesting, whereas in the comic book he was a bit dry. So,
Oh, really?
I think this is pretty cool. The other little thing I would have would be Carol's trippy dreams and life with what she's going through. She is basically medicating herself to not sleep due to her dreams of people she loves. The dreams were of pretty much good things, but she's basically repressing her subconscious thoughts from her dreams because they are too real and happy. I really think, but they're not real, which is why she is upset, because she is happy because of those things, and she knows the truth. She suffers from survivor's regret and loss. She wants to be present, but she can't based on her hallucinations due to the self-medicating and just to, stay awake.
Yeah.
It's so upsetting to watch this in a character, but the way they're actually being able to portray it is amazing.
Well, I did like a triple take when I realized that Daryl was giving her money.
Yeah.
And money, what the hell?
Yeah, they don't need money. Yeah, I know. I had that in my notes, but it's like that was a first tip off. I'm like, wait a minute, he takes out his wallet and takes out money to go to the market. They have no means or reason for money there.
They have no market
system.
Yeah.
The only other thing I have would be Negan saving Aaron. That I thought that was great. I love that. It was a definite callback from the comic where Rick is saved by Negan. So spoilers to everybody out there who never read the comic. Yeah, Negan actually did save Rick at a certain point, but not in, and to this extent. It was a little bit more extreme. At that time, there was a horde coming and all this nonsense. But in this case, yeah, there were some zombies coming their way and everything. But and on top of that, you see Negan just sitting in the house. And in the other case, it was Negan pulling him in, meaning Rick. But I really enjoyed it for the fact that it was a nice callback to that. And I think the comic book is dwindling at this point because we're getting to that point where it's going to be maybe a season and a half until we have any source material to work with for the show.
Okay.
Yeah. So
are you saying that it's going to end after that, or you think it's going to take another season and a half to get there?
It's going to take another season and a half to get there, but if they're sprinkling a lot of things here in and out with certain characters.
I don't know if I agree with you, Mark. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this half season, the Whisperers are no more. And the story moves on to, the next chapter because.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
But you have to realize, too, the next chapter, at the rate they're going, is not going to be very long if they go through that whole storyline. But for those who never read the comic, this is probably going way over your head, and we shouldn't really talk about too much of this.
Well, I have 3, but I really have to highlight one. And if you go to our website, you will see the image on this post, because this probably shot up the rating like 3 points by itself. Yeah. The shot of Carol looking at that book, and she sees her face in the cropped haircut like she had in season 1, and there you see the children. You see all the children that she has gotten close to, who have all died, and we see them we see them with look like their throats have been slit, each of them. So we see
Lizzie.
We see Lizzie, we see Mika, we see Henry, Sam, and
Sophia.
Yeah. With Carol holding up a big stack of pancakes. Anyway, I love this, and looking at it, closely, it's basically these kids at the age of their death, and I thought that was really cool. Although maybe Henry, because we saw those images of Henry, maybe Henry's the only one that's actually posing for this. The rest of them, they've done some kind of Photoshop, but I love this image. It was so creepy and weird, and this episode was definitely unreliable narrator type thing, which we've seen before, like the Omega episode last season, which I forgot about the name that the other day or last week, that we had that episode called Omega to describe Lydia. But anyway, that I have to give an awesome sauce to the cold open. Just in general, I thought that was great the way it was shot. The brutalness of those waves of walkers just coming and coming and coming, and it seems like they're just not going to stop coming. And I thought it was interesting the use of the hogweed. It was something that I didn't completely clue into what was going on at first, but I like the explanation that Angela Kang gave on Talking Dead about it. So anyway, I thought that was, something we hadn't seen before, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the weak sauce.
You're worthless and weak.
All right, listener weak sauce. Mark, what do you have?
Well, Steve from Oklahoma City says, I give that was Gamma at the very end who seemed to be gut shot from Carol's hanging upside down shooting. I guess we will find out next week how she can survive that wound alone with no help. And I think I already corrected that. That wasn't Gamma. That wasn't Gamma that got shot. You could tell just by the mask and everything else. So definitely was a whisper, but it
certainly looked a lot like Gamma, but
it did. But I'm about 99.9% sure that wasn't Gamma.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Dieta from Detroit, she had 3. Why are our people always splitting up? I know they want to cover more ground, but sheesh. There is safety in numbers, especially with the whisperers lurking. I would agree with that. Next one is, why is RJ still in bed and it's daytime? I have never known a toddler to sleep so much or that late. Smiley face with tears. Last one is, Aaron and Negan and their schoolboy fight was hilarious. I'm glad Peanut Butter and Jelly got it out of their system now. They need to start looking at Negan as an asset now. He has changed, and I'm slowly coming around to him being a changed man. Shoulder shrug. With a couple of shoulder shrug emojis. And last one is Renee from the internet. She says, Carol saying, I don't feel anything when I see you, instead of, you should fear me. Or should I say, biatch. You should fear me. All right, Mark, what do you have?
Well, my weak sauce would be, I found it honestly weak that no action was taken on the group from Alpha. That standoff in my mind would have had someone being killed.
Yeah, Alpha.
No, I was thinking that Alpha would attack them, and I thought that it would be Laura, which would be the ex-savior that we saw in the distance.
Right.
It would have been killed at least, I thought we have expendable characters that we haven't really seen, and we haven't really seen Laura that much this season.
And there were some even more expendables there. Okay, so there is a reason why I got a 9 and not a 9.5, and that isn't it like 10 years into the apocalypse? Who is making pills now? There's no way those pills are any good by this time. Like, consider the fact it is 10 years. Like, that, to me, I just had a big problem that I couldn't resolve in my head, and it was a major plot point in the episode. If it had been, season 5, for example, and we saw this, I would have just pushed it aside. But this is season 10, and more than 10 years has passed. There's just no way. And I don't think Sadiq is making pills. Okay, whether that be caffeine or if they're made of some illicit substance, whatever it is. I mean, they were in a pill bottle, right? So there was someone's prescription from the apocalypse, and I just cannot believe that those pills are still good. Maybe that's why she was having crazy hallucinations, because they're bad. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. I thought, it's like, well, they're prescription pills, so somebody had them on them. They stated exactly what she needed, but she was still taking them. Maybe it had a fungal effect on her, did something to her brain. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, the second point that I'm going to make, because it's probably another reason why I took the episode down, is why didn't they just go back home? Like, after the meeting with Alpha, why did they not just go straight home? It seemed like they took a detour, and I didn't understand why. And it sounds like you don't know either, because
I don't.
I hear silence.
No, I don't really know. It's like, why did they do that?
Right. And, like, those 2 points, I think, are the reason why this wasn't like really close to a 10. They're not like major, time and distance problems. Like Morgan falls asleep in a semi and wakes up, and it's 4 states later. That's always going to be my textbook example.
But people don't really watch Fear, so you got to stick to The Walking Dead proper. So,
well, okay. There was a thing in Fear season 4. That's all I'll say. If you haven't watched it, just count your blessings. Anyway, so that I didn't understand. These are minor points, they're not major points. So, but they're still, they were enough that they bothered me about the plot in an otherwise near masterpiece. I mean, I these were, to me, the only 2 things that took it away. I mean, this was a great episode with 2, sort of plot flaws, but on the whole, though, this was greater than a 9 to me. And I imagine as I watch this, more on subsequent watchings, that's gonna, because this often happens to me. Like, I remember when I saw Here's That Here, I originally gave it an 8.5. Well, to me, when I look back at that episode, it's at least top 10 in The Walking Dead, and maybe even top 5. Probably not, but definitely a top 10 episode. Yeah. Just a masterful acting and all that stuff. But at the time, I didn't care for it because it was right in the middle of all those things that happened with Glenn and even Rick in this, big story that was going on. And it seemed like such a departure that I didn't care for it. But anyway, point being, this was near perfect, but it was kind of like, throwing a couple of questions on an exam, so you didn't have a perfect mark. That's kind of like what it was to me. It was just two unfortunate things that took it down, and otherwise, I loved the episode. The other thing I'm going to say is Michonne. Carol had a clear shot at Alpha,
And you blew it! You blew it! You blew it! You blew it! You had it all and you blew it!
should just let her take the shot. But no, and I don't really know why she just, laid down like that. It was kind of silly. All right, so let's move on to What Sauce.
What?
I'm really surprised, but it looks like we didn't get any What Sauce from listeners, although Steve may have some in his voicemail. So, Mark, what do you have for What Sauce?
Yeah, my big what is, how did they really know that they crossed the Bota during the winter? They went south from what we could tell from last season at the very end. Those Whisperers are really a strange group, and I actually brought that up to Samantha Morton when I saw her this weekend.
Did you? What'd she say?
She goes, yes, they are.
That's probably why she likes playing them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought at first when I was looking at it that Laura didn't have her neck tattoo. So I'm like, okay, what'd they do? Laser tattoo removal in the, is that something Sadiq does?
It's a wax on, wax off kind of situation.
Yeah.
Daryl gets a skull tattoo on his hand, and Laura gets the tattoo removal on her neck.
Yeah, but when I watched it a little closer, it was in fact still there. There wasn't a really clear look at it. So I don't know if it's maybe the look of the tattoos changed over time, or if they just, made it less obvious. I don't know. But
Maybe somebody lost continuity in the show. Who knows?
So I guess the third, it's not really a weak sauce, but the thing that I was having sort of problems with this episode is, okay, so there's wave upon wave upon wave of walkers. And you're telling me that it's not Alpha setting them, which upon reflection and, listening to Lydia's reasoning, it does make sense that Alpha would have just sent them all at once. So that upon reflection, although I didn't buy it at the time, when she said that, I thought, yeah, I think she's right about that. She wouldn't do it piecemeal. But Eugene brings up the fact that it's the satellite / fire that's causing these waves of walkers. And, considering that happened pretty far away, we don't think that Oceanside is very close to Alexandria. So it seems very far-fetched to me that it's just that satellite that is causing these waves of walkers. Really? Seriously? That's what's causing it? And, hasn't there been enough time passed that would have stopped these waves? And why are they all coming to Alexandria? Why wouldn't they just, keep going? Doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. Yeah, I want a better explanation of that, and I'm hoping maybe we will get one. But all right, sad / sauce.
Well, Renee from the internet says, poor Carol and Sadiq. I feel they're both suffering with some form of survivor's guilt.
Tieta from Detroit, she says, Rosita and Eugene's friendship ending because of him still holding a torch for her. Well, she just blew that torch out. And I don't know what emoji is that? I can't even read it.
Me neither. What is that?
It just looks like squiggly lines. I don't know. Tieta, I'm still waiting for your course on emojis.
Yeah.
I've been asking you, please teach me your emoji wisdom. But anyway, then she says, poor Eugene, frowny face. And yeah, and I kind of feel for Eugene because I kind of been there in the past. It's just funny how, some guys, they just don't get the message, even though it's like clear as, plain as day. But yeah, I had a similar kind of reaction to somebody that eventually I just was like, I got to go. So, and yeah, anyway.
Well, LT from NC says, doggone it. Even if Eugene has been the character that frustrates me so many times, even after you wondered whose side he was on, even when he did things that just pissed you off, it made me sad seeing him getting the speech from Rosita. Hats off to the writers and to the actors for the scene.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, same here.
Glynis from Toronto says, Carol hallucinating, seeing all the children she has lost on that book cover of Sophia, Lizzie, Mika, Henry, and Sam. Yeah. You thought it was sad. I thought it was awesome. Because it was so trippy. And I love trippy.
Well, my set sus would be, I agree with Dieta completely about Rosita. It was harsh and really sad what Rosita said, and it was pretty much of what Eugene was doing. He wanted to take care of her and Coco, but he's obviously not boyfriend material for her.
Yeah, I don't know. Makes me think that there's somebody out there for Eugene if you just stop pining over Rosita, but it's all those nights in the self-help section.
Oh man, I think he's still remembering that.
I think he's still remembering that. Yeah, I agree.
Or maybe he was remembering Abraham.
All right. Well, yeah. It was funny. We see Michael Cudlitz in the Walking Dead game. I forget what it's called, but there were commercials during the episode with him, and he's got this stupid bushy mustache that was even bushier than the real mustache he had. I was just gonna I didn't have it in the notes, but I'll just say it was kind of sad for Aaron to have that like moment where Negan or Aaron thought that Negan was blaming him for Eric's death, and that kind of moment where like it wasn't where he got mad that Negan might have been saying that, which I don't think he was, but maybe indirectly he was, but that kind of moment where Aaron just was kind of like, you mean it was my fault? Kind
it
of
was
thing.
Like a realization, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And I hate to say it, but I think he's kind of right. I think if he should have insisted that Eric, go back but Eric, insisted that he wanted to help, and he wasn't much of a warrior, and unfortunately, he got himself killed.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, let's move on to feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
Our good man, Steve, is here with some voicemail.
Hello, Walking Dead Talk Through. This is Steve, and this is for Ghosts. I find it interesting that Negan doesn't want to fight, but I also understand that he's trying to lay low because of what he said in the first episode, that he doesn't want to make a presence of himself. We get another instance of the ninja walkers with Negan can see them behind Aaron, but he doesn't give away that they're there until they're right on top of Aaron, and obviously that causing Aaron's blindness. Then for the rest of it, it wasn't until the second watch that I finally understood what had happened there. Is that Negan tells him, oh, the flowers or the whatever was growing out of the walker that he killed that got on his face was whatever ragweed, and it can cause blindness. So that was kind of interesting, and absolutely love those kind of towards the end there, that the scene with Michonne laying down with Judith and RJ, and all of Carol's kind of dreams and hallucinations and things going on throughout the episode makes me wonder if she wasn't actually sleeping on the boat either. That even though she claimed she had been sleeping on the boat, she would sleep out on the deck or whatever, because we don't see anyone else they're going through just as much sleep deprivation as she is, but yet she's the only one kind of having this experience with these, waking dreams and intense hallucinations and stuff. So that's kind of interesting, and I wonder if they're going to continue to visit that throughout. And of course, it makes it interesting that are we going to see more mental health type stuff addressed? And I put it as my awesome sauce about Dante not being as much of a jerk, because I just love that conversation he has with Sadiq there at the table, where he kind of understands, and he can tell what Sadiq is going through, and he can tell that there's some PTSD going on there. So can't wait to hear what you guys thought. Wait to hear about Walker Stalker Atlanta. Talk to you later.
Well, that's a good segue, but I will just first say thank you so much, Steve, as usual, for your great feedback. And we're going to talk a little bit about Walker Stalker in our news section, but we're going to hold back a lot of that because we are instead going to do our first Patreon call-in show tomorrow night. By the time you hear this, the recording will have already, or the call-in show will have already happened, but you will still be able to get access to it if you pledge at the $5 level or higher. And this is the first of our, hopefully thing that we'll be doing quite a bit of call-in shows. And we are going to have with us Mark, of course, and Kyle will be there. And we're also going to have some of the other podcasters and a few friends of ours that were at Walker Stalker Con. So we'll talk more about that. Anything you want to say right now before we talk more about it in the news section?
No. They have to wait.
Yes. Yes. So right now, it's just worth saying that we are going to keep moving on. So I didn't notice that Negan kind of held back, but now that you say it, I guess you're right. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say. All right, let's move on. So our next bit of feedback is from Dieta. And Dieta from Detroit says, Carol was awesome this episode. She took that shot at Alpha and didn't care about the consequences. When Carol says, I feel nothing about you, I felt that. She was going to end Alpha. My favorite line is the bitch has to die. I'm not going to censor that. It's just the word bitch.
Yeah.
The wrath of Carol is coming, and I can't wait. Even though I paid close attention, I'm still not sure. They showed with 2 thinking emojis. They showed the blood trail leading up to the bullet hole in the Whisperer's gut. I think she came back as a walker. How ironic is that? And I believe that was the same Whisperer she saw in the forest. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together on that. So good on you, Dieta. Guessing them showing her was to prove Carol wasn't hallucinating about everything. Shrug, shrug. Alpha was adamant that they were not the ones sending the walkers. So if not them, then who? Thinking face, triple question mark. And that was my point earlier, Deanna. I wonder that myself. I think it is far-fetched that it is the satellite and fires. I mean, how far or how long, how far away did these walkers see that? And why would, is Alexandria on a straight line for Oceanside? And why would that be if they're coming from the north and the south? That would make it sound like they were coming at Alexandria. So that's why I say it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, all right. Next.
Well, Renee from the internet says, overall, I enjoyed the show, but I don't like the Negan repeat of my people acting scared. Michonne, I apologize for my friend. Grow some, what? And take Alpha sideways, walking, I'm assuming she censored herself, walking ass out with pounds.
Yeah, I believe she is censoring herself. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, Renee, but I would agree that it was a bit of a repeat of, like season 7 of how they were capitulating the Negan. And I didn't like that either. And that's why I said about Michonne that she should have just let Carol shoot her. But
unleash the Carol, not the Negan.
Yeah. I think she blew it, but
yeah.
All right, LT from NC. He has a few thoughts here. He says, suggest a few things about the episode. The cold open reminded me of any number of siege-driven war movies, and the look on Michonne's face in the windmill sold the scene for me. Not to cast aspersions here, but this is making up for that last slog out of fear. Yeah, I agree. Props to Gabriel for being firm and sending Negan out on the line. The Padre has come a long way as a character, and I enjoy seeing him being a leader now. And that's a good point. I agree with that. I'm getting a bad feeling about Sadiq in the flashbacks. Just saying. Yeah, I can understand that too. RJ must be getting into the cough syrup. No kid his age sleeps that much on their own, or maybe they run him on a treadmill to recharge the walkies.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Yeah. The Carol flashbacks / dreams / hallucinations. It was tense, but I started to lose track of what was real and what wasn't. So I guess we'll see what happens between her and Alpha next time. And I'm betting it won't be pretty. That is a good point, LT. I kind of had a similar response to it. I was kind of left holding the okay, what is real and what is not, because so much of it seemed real, but like especially Daryl talking about his dad, the truck driver. If he hadn't said that at the end, that, or not at the end, but after that scene, that his dad wasn't a truck driver, I would have thought that would have made total sense. Apparently, though, I-66 doesn't go through Kentucky. That was one thing that I picked up on, just confirming that. Yeah. I-66 is Virginia. So it is mostly in Virginia, and the goes into DC, I guess. So Yep. So that is wrong. Finally, my 2 cents on the gunshot whisperer. When her eyes opened, they were not foggy, so she hasn't turned yet. Okay. If you say so.
Yeah.
All right. We got one more piece of feedback, but it's a long one.
Well, Glennis from Toronto says, Daryl, saying heads up at the Boda to warn that the Whisperers had arrived reminded me of Enid saying that to Glenn when she threw him that bottle of water. And Daryl said heads up right at the spike border where the heads, including Enid's, were previously up on those spikes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put 2 and 2 together there, but that's interesting. Crossing my border.
My border.
My border.
I'll tell you what Samantha Morton said later. Are there some whispers undercover in the communities? As Alpha seems to be too well informed of the survivors' movements and encroachments onto her side of the Boda, seems the info is very exact and correct, more than just whisperers shadowing the survivors.
You do not do a good Alpha.
The Boda?
Why you go crossing my border?
Boda. That works. She continues on saying, that revolver of Carol's is the same one that she stole out of the Alexandria armory in season 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.
Good on you, Glennis. I never would have caught that.
Yeah, she says when Sam caught her at it and she threatened him with the monster story to keep him from telling his mom. Jesse and that same revolver very nearly killed a true monster, Alpha. Wow.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, threatened him, but said, well, I'll let the monsters get you, or you can have some cookies.
Cookies. Cookie monster.
Yep.
Yeah. She continues on saying, Dante revealed there is more to him than meets the eye. Well, I don't think he's a transformer. And just as has a warped and wicked sense of humor as he really helped Sadiq with his PTSD, which I do agree with. Actually making him laugh and forget his worries for a second or two. Adonis indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like the character, Dante. It's very different from the comic.
Glynis continues and says, Abe would be proud of Eugene with this walker-killing prowess. Eugene, you're now well past stage 2 badass level that you assured Abe that you were in season 6, episode 14, twice as far. But oh dear, back to stage 0 on the Rosita romance stakes. Well, I think he always was at stage 0. He just didn't realize it. Negan could have ended Aaron anytime he wanted to, even with that makeshift broomstick bow that he was restricted to using instead of the crowbar that Aaron made him drop. Though, don't let your guard down, Aaron, as Negan may have saved Aaron's life, but with Negan, there's always an ulterior motive. So, who is sending groups of walkers on Alexandria if it isn't Alpha and company? Or is it someone still within the Whisperers with their own agenda? Well, that's as good of an explanation as any, because I have trouble buying the satellite fire thing. Be one thing if Oceanside was close by, but it isn't. So,
or maybe Beta?
Well, maybe, but again, why would he just send waves? I don't know. Was it the Whisperer that awoke as a walker at the end of the episode that was responsible for sending the groups of walkers Alexandria's way? Or was it someone posing as a Whisperer, as whoever it was not following Alpha's rule and agreement of keeping to their side of the border? Yes, Carol had some major hallucinating, but that Whisperer or whoever who set the trap, causing Carol to be strung up upside down, was very real. So, doubting Carol, Michonne, you do that at your peril. Hope that this is not indirectly related to how you exit The Walking Dead. Ooh. Ooh,
Ouch.
boy.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah. We don't want, Carol to be like Chicken Little. I mean, not that she would be Chicken Little, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hallucinations, cause her to see things. And then the one time she actually does see something real, it turns out to be people, by that time, nobody believes her. So I hope that that's not what happens, but it could happen. Mark, what do you have?
Well, I knew it was a dream with Carol, with Daryl in the house with Carol. And when he was talking about the market, we already went over this, with the wallet and everything and handing her. That was the only thing I had. We brought it up before, but I knew it was completely different.
Yeah. And I think we kind of talked about this, but the only point that I had down here was, how did Alpha know they had crossed 3 times?
Yeah.
Especially during the storm. So what does that mean, that she had people staying behind while the rest of them went south? Or was there some, I don't know, she left clues, something that would, I don't know, kind of leave a mark or something?
Or did she have trackers like Daryl that knew enough how to read those things? Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that one, the other 2, I'm not terribly surprised about, but the storm one, I thought was surprising. All right. Well, let's move on to news, ratings, and info. And it's mostly going to be a Walker Stalker news, ratings, and info.
There's a couple weird stories on the news.
Except to say, when it comes to ratings, at least in the 18 to 49 demographic, and I was actually looking at the ratings a little closer today, and it seems like the 18 to 34 demographic, like that half of it, that demographic is not watching this show anymore, or at least live. Because in that demographic, numbers are way down, although it looks like they're way down across the board, but that's the one thing I noticed. Anyway, it got a 1.19 in the 18 to 49, which is like, it's going down precipitously. I believe the first episode was 1.44. Last week was a 1.29. So this is down a full 1/10 of a point. Anyway, but it was up in the total number of viewers with 3.479, just up like 12,000 viewers from last week, which was a 3.467. So that's why I was bringing up the point about the 18 to 34, because I was surprised to see that the total number was slightly up, even though the 18 to 49 number was quite a bit down. Talking Dead was also down this week. It got a 0.35 in the 18 to 49 with 1.244 million viewers. That's down quite a bit from last week's 0.49 and 1.349 million viewers. Now, I wonder how many of these people were coming back from Walker Stalker Con, like Mark. So, all right. So, I wasn't at Walker Stalker, but I just scrolling down, I missed one point I was going to bring up. Something in Talking Dead mentioned that the broomstick that Negan was using was colored the same stain as his Lucille. So that I thought was interesting. So, all right. So we got through the feedback and everything pretty quick this week, but we do owe you a bit of a
insider's view.
Yes.
Of what's going on at Walker Stalker.
Mark was able to get a press pass for Walker Stalker Con. So we wanted to make sure that we, gave you a good, recap, but it's to get the really good recap, you're going to have to become a Patreon subscriber and hear the rest. But just the shorter version, why don't you let us know how it went?
Well, shortest version I could give you would be the con isn't what it used to be as far as when it comes to Atlanta. Years past, from what I can tell, because I only went last year, which was pretty decently size packed. This year, it was a quarter of the size of people attending.
Now, why do you say it was a quarter? Like, how do you know that number?
Basically on the foot travel, and usually with cons of that size, and if they bring in a lot of people, as they say, you could barely walk. In this case, you could walk easily from place to place, and there's literally nobody in your path, and it's very open. There was a lack of food that was there as far as vendors are concerned. A lot of vendors didn't come back this year in comparison to last year. And we were left with one live stage on the main floor. And you had a panel stage upstairs, and that was it. There wasn't multiple panel stages set within the World Congress Center in Atlanta. So instead of multiple areas where you could view panels at the same time, there was one at a time at that big panel section, and then you had a live stage, which I actually did for Tony Moore.
Mm-hmm. So what was that like?
Oh, Tony was amazing. I love him. He was very, very nice to talk to. He gave a lot of information. I got to know him walking from his table to the panel and back to his table as well. We just talked about comic books. And yeah, I didn't get too much into what was going on with him and Robert, but we just basically talked comics and everything. And he actually is interested in listening to Panels to Pixels because we're covering Watchmen. So I think we got a listener out of Tony Moore.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Does he watch The Walking Dead anymore, or is he basically just distance himself from it?
He doesn't really watch the show, he said to me. Occasionally he'll turn it on here and there because obviously he knows what Robert has been writing about over the years, but he kind of distanced himself from Robert and all that work. Occasionally he'll throw it on, he said to me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what about other, you got to meet several of the celebrities there?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Samantha Morton was, as creepy as she is on TV, she is the most lovely woman to talk to. And the cool thing about it is she looked at me, I gave her my full name, and she laughed and she goes, "Are you related?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." So I said, "No." I said, "I wish I could be."
say that.
Yeah, exactly. But she got a good chuckle out of it. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, how often do you have to shave?" She goes, "Every 2 days." She goes, "How do you do it?" I said, "I shave every day, my dear." And she was like, she got a good laugh out of it. She goes, "Wow." And I brought up the whole thing because I said, "Well, this is the first time you've had to do that since Minority Report." And she goes, "Yes. Oh my God, you remember?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." So we had a good chat about that.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago.
Exactly.
So what, 2002, that movie?
Yeah, definitely. So she was happy about that.
She was, what did they call them? Seers or something like that? I can't remember. But she could sense pre-crime. I remember.
She was a precog.
Yeah, precog. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I brought that up, and she loved the fact that I actually enjoyed the movie, and she goes, "That was wonderful to play," and she had a good time doing it. Like I said, she's a very approachable person, and she loves to talk, and she loves to talk to the fans. This was her first real con. And and she enjoys all the fans that were coming up to her. I did not get a photo op. The photo ops were a little bit out of my price range, but the fact that I was able to talk to her and have a good time talking to her was amazing.
Well, I couldn't even afford to go, even though I had the press pass. But I mean, timing wise, the one thing I posted this on the Facebook group. One of the reasons why I couldn't go was the fact that I resigned from my position that brought me down here to Tampa, and I've just on Monday started a new job where I'm working from home 100% of the time. So that was part of the reason why I didn't make it. But that, and of course, my wife's broken ankle. Like, there's no way I could go, but still.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time. I had good time with good friends. I think that's really what attracts me to going to this con, is the friends that we've acquired over the years. And we just had a good time going and meeting the celebrities, and everybody was amazing. I believe I already submitted a bunch of photos if you guys want to look on the Facebook page, and you could see me with a bunch of friends having a good time. So there were some people from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, I was going to ask about that. How were they?
Oh, they were Alfie Allen was amazing. Pilu's, and he was so funny. So funny. He's got that Danish humor. There's so much there. The people, regardless of the crowds that they were getting, even though they weren't as huge as you would think, the celebrities had a great time. And I know that there's some controversy going on about the con itself for the weekend, but I really only heard one thing that had to do with the photo ops and the printing at that time. I didn't see anything else that was going on, but that was the only thing I heard about while I was physically there. But everybody was having a good time from what I saw. Obviously, like I said before, there wasn't much floor traffic, but from what I gathered from everything that I've seen on the floor, everybody was having a good time and doing what they needed to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about panels? Not panels, pixels, but panels that you attended.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could get more into that when we do the Patreon, but I could definitely state this. The Whisperer one that Jason Kabasi moderated was amazing. It had Thora Birch, Cassidy McClincy, and Samantha Martin. I posed a question, and this is a little snippet of something. I asked the actors what they could change of their character if they had the opportunity. And you'll love this, Brian. Samantha actually stated, she goes, I would change the wardrobe. She hated, it's like all those layers. It just makes me look punchy, and like it's so big, and just like you were stating last season, or was it the beginning of this season?
No, it was last season.
Okay, yeah.
Critical of her size.
Like the stomach area, and she even mentioned that.
Yeah,
and she goes, it made me look fat, and I didn't like that, and it's like layers upon layers, and it just doesn't look right. She goes, if I could change anything, that would be it. So she agreed with you.
Yeah, and I still feel bad about even suggesting that. Any other? I guess the big question is, do you plan to go next season? Assuming that next year they do
happens.
Do it.
That's a good question. I don't know, and I won't know until I see anything. We did go see a bunch of friends of mine and yours went to go see the show that night on Sunday night.
Oh, Zombieland.
No, I'm talking about the actual Walking Dead. We saw it on Sunday night.
Oh! I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we actually saw the episode with a crowd instead of being in our hotel rooms and just hanging around and just watching it. We watched it on a screen. Now, mind you, it was only a 4:3 aspect ratio, and they were trying to film it in a 16:9. But we got a view, and we were able to enjoy it and watch it with a group of people. I would say there was a good 200 people there.
That's cool.
To watch it with. Obviously, people were drinking because they had a bar open outside. But, we had a good time watching it, and I was able to get my, the Walking Dead's rewards code during the actual episode, just like everybody else during a commercial break. I would put it in. So, it was enjoyable to watch it with a group of people at the con itself. So that was one plus. And that was something that I've been wanting to do for years. I was going to try to do that in Philly, and I never did. They never were able to do it in New York, New Jersey. So this was my first time, and I was happy with it.
Now, I know there were several people that went to go see Zombieland Double Tap. Yes. Were you one of the ones that went to see it?
Oh yeah, definitely. That was amazing.
So this is aside from the convention, but I'm sure there are a lot of people that would be curious that haven't seen it yet. What did you think of the sequel?
I really enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was fun-filled and action-packed. That's all I could state. Go see it if you can. You won't be disappointed. A lot of my friends were like, oh, it could have been bloodier, it could have been this, it could have been that. Honestly, from a humor to gore ratio, it was equal to the first one. And we had more characters in it, and I enjoyed it. And of all things, too, and I'll add this, Leah Thompson's daughter is in the movie. Yeah, so a lot of people did not know that, and I brought that up to our friends. And while we were in Atlanta seeing the movie, since they filmed it in Georgia, I would say about 10% of the people that were attending that screening that night while I was there, our friends, actually were involved in the film.
Oh, really?
And I took a picture with one of the guys who you see on screen. So... Okay. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We actually got to meet one of the guys who was on screen, and he has a cool line in it, and a lot of people put that on my my Facebook page when I posted the picture. So yeah, it was very entertaining. I suggest it highly. If you want to see Bill Murray, stay till the end.
Okay,
it's not a spoiler, but he does show up, and you get to see something pretty cool and fun.
I guess, I don't know if it met expectations, but I guess it was number 3 in the box office this past weekend. So I don't know. It looks like Maleficent was the top draw. I don't know, but anyway, I'm sure it'll do well continuing,
Yeah.
I think it looks like it's the weekend box office was like almost 27 million, and then not doing that much in world markets, but maybe they're releasing them later. But 32 million. So I'm sure it'll make its money back.
Oh, definitely.
Anyway, okay, so let's start to wrap things up. Mark, why don't you tell people how to interact with us?
Well, we want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter. That would be at Walking Dead GSM. And to support your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread and our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadGSM. We'd like to encourage you to use our new email address, which would be walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. Our new feedback form is at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. You could also call us at 216-232-6146 and leave a voicemail that we will actually play just like Steve did tonight. Deadline for the next episode is set for our regular day and time, which would be 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, Tuesday, October 29th. And you could actually send information to facebook.com/talkthroughmedia.
We're having an issue right now with our website pertaining to Facebook. We may need to make another change. I hate that we're doing this, but we ran into an issue on Saturday night where Facebook thinks that talkthroughmedia.com is a spammer. And we have asked this to be reviewed, and we would ask any of you to just in Facebook, try to link to talkthroughmedia.com. It'll fail. And then it'll say, do you object to this? Please fill out the thing to say, yes, this is wrong. So that may help with this. But so we may have to change our domain because of this. This is very unfortunate. This is very much of an accidental thing between we were not spamming anybody. That's the awful truth about this. So if we have to make this change, I apologize to the listeners for having to do it, but hopefully either it'll resolve itself within the next week or we will have to make a change. And hopefully that'll be the last change we have to make.
Well, the best way you could support us is on our new Patreon. That would be patreon.com/WalkingDeadTalkThrough. We would like to thank our Patreon supporters. We have Steve Brown, Alex Baelish, and Lawrence Todd. Thank you guys, brothers. We got people in. And you could become a Patreon too. All you have to do is submit what you can. It's at a $5 level right now, but you could submit whatever you feel like. It could be $1, $2, $3, whatever you want. All we want is your support, and that would be amazing. That way you could come in on the actual call-in show that we're going to do. So, we're going to be doing a lot more of these as time goes by. And we also ask you to remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or just tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. We also suggest that you subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or your podcast client of choice. It could be Stitcher, Spotify, whatever you listen to nowadays. While you're there, please give us a rating or review. It would be awesome. And right now we're currently working on our website, and we continue to work on this as we speak.
Well, we have finally released the Star Trek Picard cast. At the time that we are recording this, it is not yet available on Apple Podcasts, but it is available if you go to the Star Trek Discovery podcast feed, which you can find by going to StarTrekDiscoveryPodcast.com. If you go to StarTrekPicard.com, that's their big StarTrekPicard.com domain, that will also redirect you to it, but it could be available on Apple Podcasts, should be by the time that you listen to this, but it is available on Spotify, and we are also going to be publishing our podcast going forward on YouTube. So we will publish a channel for that and have that out, but if you go to our Facebook group, we have posted a link to the video, so that should be coming soon. As far as a channel and all that, we have to straighten that out, but we should have a channel by next week. Go to facebook.com/groups. Now our URL has changed, as has our name. Ruthie and I have decided to combine the Star Trek Discovery podcast listeners with the Star Trek Picard cast listeners on Facebook. And because we think there's no reason to send them to two different Facebook groups on this, because if you're a fan if you belong to the Facebook group, you're a fan of ours. So we figure it's best to have that in one place for that. Anyway, if you go to facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts, and that stands for the Star Trek Talk Through Media podcasts. And of course, that currently consists of the Star Trek Discovery podcast and the Star Trek Picard cast. So, and subsequent episodes will be just going on the Star Trek Picard cast feed, just so you know. We have also recorded an episode for the very first short trek of the 2 that are already out, which covers Q&A. It's titled. That is one with Spock and the number 1, the original number 1. And also covers the Discovery trailer. So we recorded that this past Sunday, and I've been working on editing that, but it's been a busy week with the new job and with our other things going on, like the Patreon and the Picard cast. So I haven't had a chance to get too far on editing, but I should probably have that episode out by the weekend. So, and that also has a Patreon. We haven't had any Patreon call-in shows yet, but we are planning to do so pretty soon. That's at patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. So, Mark, what about Panos and Pixels?
Well, like I said earlier, we are working on the Watchmen TV series that's now on HBO. So Steve and I will actually be recording that this, probably, I'm going to say Friday, because there's other things that are going on this week. So you guys should expect that coming up on Sunday, just as much as the new episode of The Walking Dead. So ours will drop at the same time as The Walking Dead as usual.
All right, our next episode is Season 10, Episode 4, titled Silence the Whisperers. We don't know who's written it, but we do know, and this was mentioned on Talking Dead this week, Michael Cudlitz is the director. So he directed one episode last season. I believe he's doing episodes 4 and 7 this season. So good for him.
Yep.
The description is still paranoid. Alexandrians get riled up over the Whisperers and take their fear out on Negan. At Hilltop, the group deals with an unexpected safety issue.
What?
Maybe...
Get to the chopper!
That button was staring at me. I had to press it. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Mark.
And this is the Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.